A Ukrainian military official has revealed that the front lines of the conflict have expanded by nearly 120 miles over the past year, stretching the battlefield to an immense 800 miles in total. This development underscores the protracted nature of the war and the immense strain on both Ukrainian and Russian forces. The conflict, once defined by sweeping ground offensives, has shifted in recent months. Russian forces have largely moved away from large-scale assaults and are now relying heavily on drones, missiles, and powerful glide bombs, supported by smaller, more targeted ground attacks. This strategic shift has posed new challenges for Ukrainian defences. While trenches and fortified positions were crucial in halting previous advances, drones and long-range strikes are testing Ukraine's air defences and the resilience of its cities and military logistics. This evolving battlefield reality has become a central theme in diplomatic exchanges taking place on the world stage. At the United Nations General Assembly in New York, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky met with US President Donald Trump on Tuesday. The meeting came at a critical juncture as both leaders sought to convey their positions to the international community. Shortly after the discussion, President Trump posted on Truth Social, declaring that Ukraine was, in his words, in a position to fight and win back all of its territory with the help of the European Union. This declaration marked a noticeable shift in tone for President Trump, who in earlier remarks had signaled that Ukraine might have to make territorial concessions to Russia in order to reach a negotiated peace. Zelensky, speaking to Fox News later that day, admitted he was, as he put it, a little bit surprised by Trump's statement. The reaction reflected the delicate balance Ukraine must maintain between welcoming any endorsement of its territorial integrity and questioning the depth of US commitment. For deeper analysis of this political turn, CBS News spoke with national security contributor Sam Vinograd. She noted that Trump's sudden change in tone is rooted in frustration. According to Vinograd, President Trump has been disappointed by Russian President Vladimir Putin's unwillingness to move forward with the next stage of negotiations that the two had reportedly discussed during their Alaska summit just 5 weeks ago. This diplomatic impasse appears to have prompted Trump to adopt a firmer line, one more aligned with Kyiv's insistence on reclaiming all occupied territories. Vinograd emphasized that while Trump's declaration might sound like a morale boost for Ukrainians, it also contained an omission that has raised eyebrows. Trump said Ukraine could reclaim its lands with the help of the European Union. He did not mention the United States as part of that crucial support. That omission has been read by many observers, especially in New York, where the General Assembly convened, as a sign that Washington might be preparing to scale back its direct military assistance. The prospect of reduced US support comes at a time when Ukraine needs more, not less, aid to maintain momentum. The country's military is exploring new tactics to break the stalemate on the ground. One avenue hinted at by President Zelensky himself involves the possibility of drone incursions deeper into Russian territory. Ukrainian officials have also suggested that they may seek approval to launch more extensive strikes inside Russia, operations that would require more advanced long-range weapons from Western allies. This approach reflects a growing recognition in Kyiv that to make real territorial gains, Ukraine must stretch the battlefield and impose greater costs on Russia far from the front lines. However, these strategies hinge on sustained international support. Vinograd stressed that while Ukraine's innovative use of drones has already demonstrated its capacity to hit high-value Russian targets, scaling up such efforts will demand consistent flows of money, equipment, and political backing. Russia, she observed, is playing the long game, seeking to exhaust Ukraine's resources and weaken the resolve of its partners. Without ongoing security assistance, Ukraine's ability to shift the momentum remains in jeopardy. The war's ripple effects are not confined to the front lines in Eastern Europe. On Wednesday, the United States scrambled fighter jets to intercept Russian warplanes flying near Alaska's air defense identification zone. It was not an isolated incident. Similar interceptions occurred 3 times in August. Moreover, Russian aircraft have been detected crossing into the airspace of NATO members such as Poland and Estonia in recent weeks. These incursions, while not entirely new in Moscow's playbook, have become more frequent and bolder, testing the limits of Western patience and readiness. Vinograd explained that such maneuvers serve multiple purposes for the Kremlin. They project strength to domestic audiences, send warning signals to NATO, and probe the alliance's responses in real time. Yet the increased tempo and depth of these flights also reveal Moscow's willingness to escalate pressure, even as it remains bogged down in the grinding conflict in Ukraine. For Washington and its allies, these actions are a stark reminder that the war's stakes extend well beyond Ukraine's borders. The situation has evolved into a wider contest over the balance of power in Europe and the credibility of Western security commitments. It is within this context that Trump's rhetoric, shifting from skepticism about Ukraine's prospects to optimism about its ability to reclaim all of its land, has generated both hope and unease. Hope for Ukrainians who see a renewed call for victory, unease for European leaders who fear that US policy might be entering another phase of unpredictability. As the front lines stretch and the war grinds on, the international community faces a pressing choice whether to continue treating the conflict as a distant regional war or to acknowledge its growing implications for global stability. The recent exchanges at the UN, coupled with Russia's provocations in European and North American airspace, underscore that this is not just a war between two nations. It is an ongoing test of alliances, diplomacy, and the world's willingness to stand firm in defense of sovereignty and international law.